Okay, so let's have a little goosey at this DIY handbrake of mine. Disclaimer here, this isn't going to be a how-to because it's a bit bodgy and like whilst I've got it to work well, it may not be as easy for everyone else to replicate exactly what I've done, but we'll see. So this is more going to be an inspirational DIY handbrake video to inspire you perhaps to come up with your own ideas, maybe similar to what I've done, but this is definitely not a hold my hand step by step guide. So let's have a little look at what I've got here. As I mentioned once before, the handbrake itself is off of an old E30 drift car. Now obviously E30s don't come with drift handbrake, so it was just, I believe it was just a handbrake we got off of eBay, and all I'm using here is the handle from it, as you can see. In fact, I've even had to replace the foam because the original foam disintegrated. Now what we've got down here is a very convoluted setup of springs, as you can see, and a micro switch here. Now the micro switch has this wire coming off it, this little barrel plug on. The other end of that, pardon me, here, I've wired into button 12 on my TSPC Racer. So that is for games that don't support analog handbrake inputs. I've literally wired it in parallel with button 12, and that way in game you can map button 12 to be handbrake. And so when you pull the handbrake, it will operate the micro switch. You can just see it and hear it catching the tip there. So that's the micro switch. That's how that side of it works. Now the load cell, and this is where things get really bodgy, the load cell is actually this little metal thing here. It's about yay wide and about the same in depth, and it's held in place by some cable ties and I think a little bit of glue underneath there as well. Now, this spring here is a valve spring out of a 2-litre Zetec, Ford Zetec engine. That is the main return spring for my handbrake itself. That's what you pull against, the pressure you feel. Valve springs are pretty hefty, which is why I chose those. This second spring here is actually a standard spring out of a Logitech G920 brake pedal, I think, potentially. And what that does is apply force onto the load cell. The reason there is a 10p piece, if you can make it out, just sat in there, and it sits in there well, I might add, that 10p piece actually forces, it's taking out some of the cushioning from the coils in the springs to apply a little more force to the load cell. You can see what I mean by proper bodgy and why this isn't a step-by-step, because whilst this works for me, it may well not work for you. So yeah, that's what I've used that for, like a hard buffer to stiffen up the travel of the spring and apply more force to this load cell. So we've got a micro switch here, we've got a load cell under here. This is the spring that returns the force of the handbrake that you pull on. It pivots on this bolt here. This bolt here just goes through in place of the standard, you can see on the original GT Amiga Art bolts there. I've just replaced that one with a longer one to let that pivot on it. So, and you can see I had to cut a little wedge in the handbrake there for that valve spring to wedge into. I originally tried there, that didn't work very well, so I cut another one there. Oh, and there's a bolt coming through here. That limits, that's basically, it stops the handbrake pinging back out, which otherwise it would if there was nothing to stop it. So that's what that bolt's doing there. So then we've got now this is the, if I remember correctly, this is our 4-wire to 3-wire load cell converter, or it might be the other way around, 4-wire to 3-wire, one or the other, load cell converter. That's what that is there. And there's a little adjustment pot there as well to adjust the sensitivity. And then up to the left here, this one here, that is our load cell to USB controller. In fact, this must be 3-wire to 4-wire because there's 4 wires going into there. So yeah, 3-wire load cell, like what you find in the Fanatic pedals, to the 4-wire converter, then into this is a Leo Bodner product, as is that in actual fact. And that's just USB'd obviously into the PC. So that, I think that's basically it. So yeah, let's spin the camera around. yeah, so that's basically it. That's my DIY load cell handbrake. And like I said at the beginning, this is not a how-to. Don't slam me in the comments saying, Carl, how the heck am I supposed to follow this? You've just bodged the hell out of it using cable ties, 10p pieces and old drift slag handbrakes. You're absolutely right, I have, and you may not be able to copy exactly what I've done, but it's just meant to be more of an inspirational video to give you lot ideas about perhaps how you can come up with your own DIY handbrake using the Leo Bodner, electronics and the Fanatic copy of Fanatic load cell. That load cell's about £7 or £8 on eBay, and I think the controller, the USB controller, and then the 3-wire to 4-wire adapters, maybe 25 to 30 quid for the lot. So the whole lot doesn't cost much money at all, especially compared to like an HE handbrake that's 240 notes. So this is what I've done. Hopefully it inspires some of you to have a little play and have a go yourselves. Or maybe it will make you appreciate what the pre-made ones are, are like, and the hassle it saves you having to dick about doing stuff like this. But anyway, hopefully you found it stupid and a laugh and maybe even a little bit helpful. But as always, thanks for watching and take it easy.